You are listening to Golden Otter Divinations, where the metaphysical meets the mainstream with Autumn Seibel. Tune in 9 a.m. Pacific the first Friday of every month as Autumn helps you manifest your dreams by connecting to loved ones in spirit, empowering you to find both physical and spiritual healing. Are you ready to transform your life and connect to divine guidance through practical strategies? Golden Otter Divinations is the place to find engaging interviews with medical experts, practicing mediums, intuitives, healers, and many more. Now, here's your host, Autumn Seibel.
Hi everyone, I'm Autumn and you're listening to Golden Otter Divinations. Stay with me for the next hour as we explore where the metaphysical meets the mainstream. Join us live each first Friday of the month at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, when we have new informative and engaging interviews with medical experts, practicing mediums, intuitives, healers, and many more to help uplift, educate, and empower listeners like you to find physical and spiritual healing. So with my recent transcontinental move from the United States to Malawi, which is in Southern Africa, my life has been turned upside down in the best possible way. Moving from the Western world with easy access to first-class medical care to rural Africa, where millions of people are still affected by the perils of malaria and other infectious diseases, I'm on a quest to merge the best of modern science with the realities of pre-modern living conditions to help eradicate and heal those suffering on the continent from the effects of malaria and other infectious diseases. So today I have renowned medical expert, Dr. Gordon Pedersen here with me to learn how we can utilize the healing powers of silver, you heard that right, silver, in our daily lives as a preventative medical alternative to mainstream pharmaceuticals. If you're looking to take charge of your health or be the change you wish to see in the world of disease eradication, you won't want to miss this interview. Dr. Gordon Pedersen is a man on a mission. The mission is to alert the world to the incredible sweeping restorative and long-term effects of silver on our health, with all of its powers to eradicate harmful bacteria, viruses, yeast, and parasites in the body. To be specific, we're talking about structured silver liquid, which he innovated and now makes in an ingestible silver accessible, which now makes, silver ingestible, accessible, effective, and completely safe. So we're talking about something so simple here, but it's super, super straightforward. So Dr. Pedersen holds multiple doctorate degrees. He's a doctorate in naturopathic medicine, as well as a PhD in toxicology from Utah State University, where he also holds a PhD in immunology and biology. Board certified in anti-aging and regenerative medicine, he's also has a master's degree in cardiac rehabilitation and wellness. Dr. Pedersen is the medical director of the Silver Health Institute and has spent countless hours reviewing silver information and is frequently called upon as the world's leading authority on silver as a health tool. He is a distinguished speaker for Special Operations Medical Association and has worked with several national and international government organizations on the topic of silver. Whoa, this is one of my most credentialed guests to date. So today we'll be talking about his new book, The Silver Miracle, and why silver is the greatest tool for restoring and protecting health discovered by science. Holy cow, with all that, Dr. Pedersen, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. I could go on and on reading about your bio and the way that you've used structured silver to help people all over the world. But to get started, I always like to ask my guests if they've had any golden moments lately. So what I mean by that is we just take a second to raise our vibration and get in the flow and have you describe any golden moments, meaning a time you were just totally in the flow or had an interaction that you knew was sent by otherworldly anything, and something that made you smile and your heart sing, something out of this world.
Well, I just got back from a medical convention where I was a speaker, and after I was done speaking, I got to consult with a number of different women. It was a women's conference, and one of the women came up to me and she had a problem. And the problem that she disclosed to me was it was a urinary tract problem, a bladder problem. So she was going to the bathroom every hour. It was burning. If she said it felt like razor blades when she was urinating, and she just couldn't get rid of it. She paid all this money to come all this way and all this money to enter, and now she was afraid she wasn't going to be able to go to the next 2 days of the convention. So all I did was I told her that silver passes through the body unchanged and will pool in the bladder. Drink 4 ounces of this, and I've got the bottle right here. 4 ounces of this right now, she did. 1 ounce in an hour, 1 ounce in an hour, 1 ounce in another hour. She came back to me the next day, and I was afraid she might not be able to make it back to the conference, but sure enough, she showed up. She said within 4 hours that she was no longer passing blood. She had no problems with her urination. The pain went away. The inflammation that was causing urgency had been reduced, and she was well on her way to being normalized again in 1 evening. So I know what can be done, and the silver did exactly what we described to her. And for her case, it was important because she met up with several other people that were influential in her life. She made several new friends and some good contacts along the way. So I guess that was my latest one that just happened off the cuff.
Wow. Okay. I have like hundreds of questions. First of all, if you haven't read Dr. Pedersen's book, we will talk about it later. I'll give you a link to go and get it for free, but it's called The Silver Miracle. The Silver Miracle. Yeah, why silver is the greatest tool for restoring and protecting health discovered by science. I read this book in one sitting because I am here in Africa as we sit recording this. I thought I was coming down with malaria over the weekend because I took a little break from taking my malaria meds. And when I took a little break, like I stopped taking them for a month, my liver arrest. But I was reading Dr. Pedersen's book and I was like, okay, what can I help? What can silver help me cure? And I want to talk about the miracle of silver in my life before, but does silver help with kidney stones, just out of curiosity? Like if you're saying it pools in the bladder, can it help with kidney stones?
It does not, because it doesn't dissolve the calcium oxalate that produces the stone. But the big thing is silver is the best thing to have in your system because it does pass through the kidneys, it does pool in the bladder, and it helps with whatever injury might have occurred. It helps with whatever damage to the tubes or the nephrons or any of the Bowman's capsules, and it heals quicker because silver is there, but it doesn't dissolve the stone.
Okay, so having it on board can help with the healing process.
Yes.
Good to know. Okay, so in your book, you say that structured silver water today is where penicillin was 80 years ago, but the new structured silver water won't have penicillin's problems and won't require a prescription. It's changing the way we think of preventative medicine and is already changing the lives of millions around the world. So I want to talk about why silver and why now. I want to say, how did you discover the benefits of working with structured silver? And can you tell us what it was like working with Dr. Jonas Salk, who invented the polio vaccine, which, wow, like talk about, I used to be a history teacher and moments in time, like what an amazing time to be in the medical profession and to work, under someone like that.
Yeah, well, Jonas Salk was a mentor of mine, and I was just coming through my cardiology internship at the University of Utah, and he has a clinic there. So Jonas Salk was my major professor, and he would consult with me 1 hour once a week on inventions. He would sit down with me and say, okay, what can we do today? And he was in the process of developing the artificial heart valve. Nobody knows that about him, but that was his invention as well. So I had the opportunity to work with this man, and he told me some of the secrets of what happened to him that people don't always know. And it was just fascinating to have him take me into a room that was about as big as 24 by 20, and it had all these bottles. Imagine 2-gallon bottles, glass bottles. 2 gallons is a large glass bottle, and he had them filled up with water. Then he had them filled up with 1% virus, 5% virus, 10% virus, 20%. He had all these different dilutions. And he said, year after year, I tried to put the smallest amount of the virus, actually, polio is not a virus. Polio is a plasmodial, which is a parasite. I would put just a little bit in that bottle and dilute it, a little bit and dilute it. And I was continuously trying to give immunity to the body without giving infection. And he said, I just couldn't do it. And I almost gave up. I had so much abuse and so many people that were criticizing me. He said, I almost gave up. But then a miracle happened. He said, you see the bottles that are all with dilutions of that parasite in it, the malaria in it. He said, they're stacked next to the bottles that just had water in them. And after a year's time, the energy from the malaria had transferred from one bottle into the bottles that just had water in them. And so the energy from malaria transferred across the glass membranes into the water, and the water restructured itself and actually held the energy of the malaria parasite. And that is how he developed the vaccine. He said, God sent that to me, and I just discovered what had happened. And what had happened was very simple. Everything has an energy. Everything has a resonant frequency. Well, malaria resonated at a frequency that transferred through glass and into the other water, where then he could give the vaccination to people without infecting them. So I had a great time, and I enjoyed him significantly. I remember the last thing I asked him, I said, what are you most proud of? And he said, other than my family, and he scratched his little chin, and he said, not patenting the polio vaccine. And I said, of all the things you've done, you're most proud of not patenting the polio vaccine? He said, yeah, you don't understand. If I had patented it, it would have gone to a pharmaceutical company. One, they would have marked the price up 5,000 times, and they would have taken it to only the countries that could have afforded it. It would have gone to England and Germany and France and the United States, but they would have totally left out Africa. They would have totally left out all these other places because he couldn't, or that company wouldn't have been able to make enough money. He said, then we would all be at risk because some of those countries would continue to develop a more resistant strain. 10 years later, we would all have a worse problem. He said, so someday when you invent something, make sure you don't give total access to one pharmaceutical company under a patent that they can market up so much that good can't be done with it. And so here I am under his prophetic declaration with silver, and we have something that will destroy bacteria, viruses, yeast. And the polio virus, I got mixed up in my story there, was that he was talking to me about my studies on malaria at the same time. So polio is a virus. It transferred into the water. Malaria is a parasite, and I'm using silver to destroy that.
Wow. Okay. So you're absolutely talking my language now. We're talking about energy transference, disease eradication, and equal opportunity to everyone around the world. And I think that's why I was so excited to have you on. I usually will interview a medical expert every other interview or every third interview. And I think that's why I was so drawn to you, is because the pharmaceutical industry does not have its hands on silver yet. And that's why the price hasn't skyrocketed. So you talk about in your book how silver can be used to fight superbugs like MRSA. So when I was in the hospital 7 years ago, how old's my oldest? Delivering my oldest daughter, I picked up MRSA. At first, they told me it was mastitis, and just to keep treating it like a general case of mastitis that most new breastfeeding mothers get. And then it got worse, and then it got worse, and then it got worse. And my own mother is an internist. My stepfather is a surgeon. I had the best medical care. I had an IV sitting at home with like a nursing 2-week-old. My husband was deployed to Afghanistan. I had an IV in my arm because my fever was so bad, and we just couldn't get it to pass. And they just kept saying it's just mastitis. And then it turned into, or it probably all along was MRSA. It was all along MRSA. And then they finally swabbed me for it. And my mother had very early on said, honey, I think this could be more serious. I think this is MRSA. But we never want to listen to our own parents. Like, even though she's a doctor and all that, I'm like, no, Mom, listen to the OB. Okay. this is an OB issue, not an internal medicine issue. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a classic, doctor's kid. Like, I have to be on death's door before I will accept help or ask for help, especially from my own parents. But so it was MRSA, and the tissue necrosed, and we couldn't get this bacteria to clear. I had a PICC line with vancomycin for 2 full weeks or 10 days. And it finally cleared on the inside, but the, to save tissue, breastfeeding, might as well, I'm sharing it now, to save breast tissue, a doctor recommended, a holistic doctor out in California recommended structured silver. And I was like, what is this, $40 bottle of like what looked like just water, tasted like just water. I was like, okay, if this PICC line in my arm's not helping me, what is this, vial of water going to do? And it did. I credit that to helping salvage some breast tissue and keep it. I was able to then go on and nurse my second child without any issues. So that's my story with structured silver and MRSA, the superbug. But how, like, as a preventative, before people go into the hospital, or like as soon as they get to the hospital, how can silver be used in the developed world, or even the developing world, to prevent MRSA or to prevent superbugs?
Well, what's happening with silver is it destroys bacteria and viruses and yeast and even some parasites like malaria. And the reason it does that is because silver is missing one electron in its very dense molecular structure. So it wants to steal something, like a little magnet stealing electrons. And since germs only have one cell membrane, if it steals one electron from that membrane, it ruptures the membrane. So that's how it destroys the bacteria. And MRSA, which is methicillin-resistant staph, and staph is a bacteria, and it can be very, very resistant because so many antibiotics have caused problems. Well, silver can be swallowed 2 teaspoons twice a day, and now it's circulating around in your bloodstream, and it resonates at an energy that we've measured to be 910 terahertz. And if you want the hair to stand up on the back of your neck, listen to this. That's the exact same frequency that we found the germicidal lights resonate at in your laboratory or in the hospital. So your little teeny particles of silver resonate at the same frequency that destroys germs. And they're so tiny that when you swallow them, they'll attach to a red blood cell and go anywhere circulation takes them. What a great immune surveillance energy. It's resonating. The question is, will I glow like a red light? Well, the answer is no, but a blue light. Yeah, you will resonate at a frequency inside your body that destroys germs, just like a germicidal light. Now, the other thing that's very powerful here is, as the silver is circulating through your body, if a germ gets into your bloodstream, it's going to attach, the germ is going to attach to the highest energy possible. And that means it attaches to silver, like 2 magnets attaching to each other, and then you urinate them out. So silver destroys the germ, attaches itself to viruses, excretes them out of the body before they can even infect you. So what would I do if I were going to the hospital? First thing I would do is I would drink 2 teaspoons of the liquid. I would then take the gel, and the gel I would put on my hands, and I'd put on my hands, a little bit on my nostrils and lips, and now I've got 6 hours of protection with that silver as well. Let me spin off one more story. I know I'm talking way too long sometimes, but
You're fine.
4 weeks ago, the FDA banned, yes, I said the word banned, the FDA banned 28 of the 31 ingredients found in hand sanitizers because
I've heard this was coming.
Because they do not do what they say. They do not kill all the germs, and the germs that are left become hospital-acquired super germs. So nurses were the ones that actually put everybody up to this. They said, look, we're going from patient to patient to patient. We're using the hand sanitizer. I'm showing up the same germ in the next patient that I had in the former patient. I think there's a problem here. Well, what's happened now is the ingredients are found to be toxic, number one. They're not doing what they have said they would do, and they don't kill all the germs. And the recommendation is the gel in silver form does destroy the bacteria and the viruses and the yeast. So this is a great replacement for hand sanitizers. If I'm going to the hospital, if I'm going to work, if I go to shake a lot of hands at a convention, this is what I'm doing. Silver gel for a protection layer, silver liquid for an inside layer. How terrific to work inside and out because it's all natural. It doesn't need a prescription, and it isn't going to have the side effect possibilities that all these drugs have. You know the list. You could probably tell me your funniest side effect you've heard on TV lately.
Oh, I don't even want to. I turn off. Well, I'm in Africa now, but when I used to, I would forward through because you're like, why would I want to cure my insomnia if I'm then going to go like sleepwalk and hurt someone? Like just, I can't, don't even get me started on pharmaceuticals. I'm a certified health coach. And like I mentioned before we were recording, my brother's a chiropractor. My mom's an internist. My sister-in-law's a physician assistant. I'm surrounded by medical professionals. And so I get the inside scoop on what's happening in the medical industry. And they're all saying like, how can we turn health over to people? Because as we'll talk about in our next segment, if there ever really is like a pandemic or an epidemic, even developed nations are not prepared to handle it. And ultimately, to help medical systems in developing nations, we need to put the power in the hands of the people. And that's why I'm so happy when we started this segment, you were talking about how silver has not been like cannibalized by the pharmaceutical industry, and it's still more or less widely available to people. So we are going to take a quick break. You're listening to Golden Otter Radio with me, Autumn Seibel. When we come back, we'll explore more about the benefits of using structured silver as a long-term protective and preventative health measurement in both the developed and developing worlds. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. We are back on Golden Otter Radio with my brilliant guest, Dr. Gordon Pedersen, exploring the benefits of using structured silver for obtaining optimal long-term health. But before we continue, I want to make sure everyone knows how to contact him and find his various books and products. So, Dr. Pedersen, how can folks reach you?
My website is mydoctorsuggests.com. MyDoctorSuggests.com has over 200 videos, and they're all educational. I also have books that I've written, like this one's for women's health, this one's for animals. I've written a number of other ones like Silver Miracles. If you see that book and you click on it, you get a free digital copy just because you're listening to Autumn right now. So literally you can click on that. It'll come to you over your computer right away. And we're delighted to help you with silver liquid, silver gel, silver lozenges. What a great thing for your voice. Silver lotion and silver soap. All of them non-toxic. And that really matters today because of what's happening in the hand sanitizer world.
Yeah. And you're definitely, I was also thinking like on airplanes, like when you're traveling, like that is a great, you definitely like keep this in your purse. So yeah, it's mydoctorsuggests.com. So before we went to break, we were talking about what happens when there is an accumulation or buildup of silver in our systems. Is that even possible? And then I also wanted to ask Dr. Pedersen about the good bacteria test with silver and how that compares with taking traditional antibiotics. Because as you guys may not know, when you take antibiotics, it kills all the bacteria in your system, good and bad. That's why doctors say take a probiotic with any antibiotics. But I'm going to let the expert tell us about it.
Okay, where do we want to start?
Let's start with, does silver accumulate in our bodies?
Oh, silver can accumulate in the body as an acid, and it can accumulate in the body when it's ionic, and it's a colloid. But what we've done with silver, and I've been a part of this for over 15 years, is I've developed a silver product that's alkaline. So now it's going to work with the immune system instead of an acid coming into the system, causing the pancreas and immune system to start to reject that acid. So it can be taken every single day as an alkaline product, and it won't build up in the system for this reason. We use structured water where we actually structure the water starting with steam, vortex it, and give it a little bit of a magnetic resonance so that it has an energy in the system that the body wants to work with, and silver will attach to the water on the oxygen molecule. Now, what that means is it won't fall out of solution, while the other silvers up until now that were all acidic, they will fall out of solution. So if you recognize in the Merck Index, which is the doctor's Bible of statistics and facts, the Merck Index identifies gold and silver as the two minerals that are not heavy metals. Because of their density, they don't accumulate in the body the same way all the other minerals do. So structured silver does not accumulate in the body, while other silvers in the acidic form and salt form do. So that's one issue, because some people worry about the blue man. Am I going to turn blue from taking this old silver? Well, if you're making it yourself, you're going to have the problem. If you're not making it yourself and you're getting pH balanced alkaline silver, you're not going to have that problem.
So speaking of that, I wanted to talk, so we talked about how it does, silver doesn't accumulate in the endocrine system, tissue, or other body systems. I do want to talk about how folks can get silver. So you say that, so how can silver help give us a fighting chance against bioterrorism and epidemics? So in your book, The Silver Cure, you say the Spanish flu epidemic of 1918 that killed millions of people was found to have originated in a vaccination work in Kansas that was flown by military transport to Spain, where it broke out. The Nazis were reported to have first worked with the AIDS virus for biological warfare research. And one thing is certain is that humans with ill intent will continue to develop biological weapons. In fact, there's already been weaponized versions of the bird flu discovered in Switzerland, demonstrating that someone, is trying to develop these terrorist. I think we're all very aware of it. So you give a recommendation in your book that every private citizen in the developed world, developing worlds, anywhere where we have access to this, should keep, 2 gallons of structured silver in their garage?
Well, that's a great place to have it, anywhere in your house. And the reason why is what you need is 2 teaspoons twice a day. Swallow 2 teaspoons twice a day. And with the silver in your system already, when the germ comes into your body, and I studied and published a paper on influenza, that when it comes into the body, it will attach to the silver and be excreted without causing the damage. So when you want to stop a bacterial infection from spreading, you stop it early when there's only tiny amounts of them, and it's very simple. But if you wait 2 days, 3 days, there's so much of it because it divides every 20 minutes that it's difficult to get back under control. So the prevention is the better answer. Drinking 2 teaspoons twice a day, you can do it every day for 3 months. Then if you want to take a couple of days off and go back to it, that's fine. But this is the way we want people to recognize alkaline structured silver is more important than the ionic silver, the colloidal silver, the acidic silvers of the past. This one you can take every day for prevention. And if you have it every day, boy, do you have a really terrific way of preventing the germ from ever getting a stronghold in your body. I also love just having the gel handy. And the epidemic that may come, we're going to have them. Just remember this. The last time the world was saved from an epidemic, it was from the polio vaccine that came from Dr. Jonas Salk. And he refused to put it in the hands of the pharmaceutical companies who would charge too much, and then it would be impossible to handle all of the countries in the world. Instead, how did the world get saved? By networking through the Rotary Club. People saving people, one city at a time, one town at a time, one county at a time, one state at a time, one tribe at a time. They've covered the whole world, and people saved people during that situation. So it's a very important thing, because do you realize what they did to him? The pharmaceutical companies wanted his vaccine, but he gave it to everyone. So the price had to stay way, way, way low. Somebody put a poison into his vaccine, gave it to some children, and it killed 53 children. They called him up to a congressional hearing and said, "Why is your medicine killing children?" And it stopped the whole process for a year. But this is interesting. This is the energy of the universe working here.
Let's hear it.
What happened was, a company developed an instrument that could detect, they call it a mass spectrometer, inject a liquid into it, and it could tell you every peak of every different element that was in the product. And when they did that, they found that the poison came from one specific manufacturer, and immediately, because of that mass spectrometer being developed, they could discover who put the poison into his vaccine. He was totally exonerated, and the company was totally under charges. But this is the kind of people that try to stop good from happening. These people that want money and power more than they want your good health. Silver is independent because the patent ran out in 1924. So they can't patent it. The patent is already expired. So even though there's 42 drugs using silver, already in the physician's desk reference proving that it is safe and beneficial, it doesn't have a patent, and it can be used without a prescription.
Wow, that story sounds like something out of a science fiction novel, but it's real. Crazy. And so if a patent expires on something, that means that now silver can never be patented again? Or like the pharmaceutical.
Correct. Yeah, that's the general idea. Yeah.
Very cool. So that's something that I don't talk about a ton, but it's kind of like just a very prevalent part of my life is getting out of the control of, or getting out from under the influence of pharmaceuticals. Yes, like modern medicine is incredible. And if you have a life-threatening illness and it can save you on a dime, but like long-term pharmaceuticals, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and like using silver to kind of protect your own health is a great place to start. Like if you're not really sure, and you have more resources on your website, right?
Yes, I do. And may I share one more story? Just you've opened my brain up. It's your own fault. Anyway, there's one more issue here, and that is that even with antibiotics, we know they damage our intestines. We know they damage our immune system. But do you realize that Harvard just published a study that said when you take silver with your antibiotic, it makes your antibiotic 1,000 times more effective. 1,000 times more effective. Not stronger, not because it makes the antibiotic stronger, but because the silver strips away the resistant layer on the bacteria, allowing the antibiotic entrance. So the future of silver includes antibiotics, and the future of antibiotics is going to include silver, because what happens here is we have so much resistant bacteria in our society. The silver is actually reversing that. Day after day after day, silver is reversing it. So when I presented this research to the Naturopathic Society at their convention, they took a vote that any time a person comes in with an antibiotic, they will add silver to their regimen so that they can make both a much better issue. But when I presented it, I said, my goal is to make us prescribe 50% less antibiotics in the next 2 years and 80% less antibiotics in 5 years from now, because silver is the go-to first product. And it destroys bacteria, viruses, yeast. It destroys all of those, and it spares the good bacteria. We'll talk about that in a minute. But imagine pharmaceutical antibiotics only destroy, in a broad spectrum, 23 of the bacteria, yet silver destroys 3,300. You see where I'm going with this, is it's a very valuable tool.
So you say in your book, the person that truly wants to prevent the infectious diseases of our future and avert the bioterrorism of today will want to store 1 gallon of structured silver water per person in their garage, knowing that it will happen again. You also say you can use structured silver as a currency in the apocalypse. You don't say that. That's my imprint.
Well, it'll be more valuable than gold.
Yeah, there you go. And you say if it's not bioterrorism, it could easily be created by our misuse of antibiotics and the creation of superbugs that will grow into epidemics and pandemics, or the fact that we spray millions of pounds of pesticides on our crops, recycle our contaminated water, or build houses that contain over 300 cancer-causing agents. It's not a matter of if, but when. We are going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we will discuss more about disease prevention and the healing use of the miracle cure, silver. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on Golden Otter Radio with me, Autumn Seibel, and my very credentialed guest, Dr. Gordon Pedersen, who has dedicated his career to eradicating and preventing diseases around the world, including treating a village of children infected with malaria in Africa. So, Dr. Pedersen, before we dive into that, do you had a free book to give away? That's the Silver Miracle, and it's available for download. Where do people need to go to get that?
Yes, if you'll go to my website at mydoctorsuggests.com, go to books, scroll down. When you see the book, Silver Miracle, click on it. It will be a free download to you just immediately, as quick as you can do that.
Perfect. And then if they want information about actually buying silver or using silver, they can go to My Doctor Suggests, and you've got like a chat feature. People can ask questions and get just like kind of get started with using it.
Yeah, that's a great place to go. And it's in bundles, there's specials. And more importantly, we have education, over 200 videos if you'd like to just know about what's going on here.
Perfect. So let's talk about using silver as a viable prevention and treatment health method in both the developing and developed worlds. So how can water and food sources be purified by structured silver? And what are the dilution and time rates?
Well, what I do is I just take silver and pour it into a little spray bottle like this. Now, this spray bottle can be sprayed on my salad. It can be sprayed on my food. And if I wait 1 minute, it's going to destroy the bacteria, viruses, and yeast. So that's how it works on food. If I want to use it in a little bottle like this, I can put it in my nostrils and spray it in my nostrils, or I can use it as an eyedropper. So from a food point of view, the most important thing is to drink 2 teaspoons of the liquid twice a day. Now, with water, if you'll take 4 drops, like with an eyedropper, just take the eyedroppers, pull the water up, the liquid silver up, and you drip 4 drops into 1 glass of water. Wait 1 minute, it's going to destroy all the bacteria, viruses, and yeast in that water. Now, it's not going to strain off the heavy particles, but the dangerous particles, the germs, they're all going to be destroyed in 1 minute. So I hope that helps for food and for water, because it's a terrific protectant.
Mm-hmm. And you say you don't rinse it off of your food, you just spray it and let it sit.
Correct. And it has no flavor. It tastes like water. In fact, it destroys odors. It destroys the cause of odors. You could take it in a spray bottle and spray it on your stinky tennis shoes, and it will destroy the cause of that odor in 30 seconds. You can use it on any types of odors, because odors that are foul and offensive usually come from yeast or from bacteria, and it destroys both.
I remember when I first got my first bottle of silver, like 6 or 7 years ago, I remember thinking, like, is this just water? Like, have I been hoodwinked? Because it didn't taste, it didn't smell, it didn't anything. And I was like, so you mean to tell me that whatever's in this bottle here is going to help me more than this? You know, I still have a scar from the PICC line that they put in. A PICC line is what what is a PICC line an acronym for? It's like a placement intravenous.
It's a long-term IV. So you put the needle in and you're putting into your vein long-term fluids.
Yep. So I had to have an IV bag that would like go off, and it would pump this antibiotics into my system every 12 hours. And then I would have to go into, actually, it was like a cancer center. It was like where people were doing dialysis and things like that, and get my bag changed over. And I remember that was probably like my wake-up call. I'd grown up in hospitals. My mom's a doctor. I literally used to sleep in the doctor's lounge of Valley Hospital in Palmer, Alaska, like Monday through Thursday night of my entire childhood. Any doctors out there who my brothers and I were like terrorizing you while you were in between cases, I apologize to all doctors at Valley Hospital. But, I was really I was wedded to this idea that Western medicine, conventional medicine, had all the answers. And after, having this PICC line in for 14 days, and it didn't do the trick, it didn't clear me all the way. And then the kicker was, afterwards, the doctor said, okay, those were the big guns. That was like the heavy hitter. From now on, you have to be so careful you don't ever get sick, because you're now resistant to all of the super antibiotics that we have. I was like, great. Now what do I do? So I really was pushed into a place where I had to find an answer. And through spending that time with people who were on like long-term dialysis or cancer treatment, I thought to myself, holy cow, like I'm a new mother. I want to get serious about protecting my long-term health. If not for me, then for this baby, because my spouse was deployed and, my parents were there. But, when you become a parent, you're like, this is now my responsibility. I had to take care of myself. So I can personally vouch for the benefits of silver. And then we talked briefly about this real quick because I am in a malaria-ridden country where every other day somebody is really sick from malaria. How can silver be taken to treat malaria?
Well, in my paper that's published in a peer-reviewed journal article, 2 teaspoons twice a day is the amount that a person would swallow, just of this liquid right here, swallow it twice a day for prevention. Now, if you get malaria, you just double that amount and you expect return to normal function in an average of 5 days. That's not 2 months, that's not 2 weeks even, that's like 5 days. So this works. I've been to Africa, I've seen this work. We've used it in the children, and not only did it work in children, but I also published how beneficial it is for urinary tract, for respiratory tract, for immune system, for digestive system, because silver is God's antibiotic without side effects, destroying bacteria, viruses, yeast, and even parasites.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did in Ghana with the village of children who are being affected by malaria? This really resonated with me because I am actually volunteering my time here locally at an orphanage, and we just got the kids all mosquito nets, which is like a preventative for malaria, but that doesn't, like if you get bit by a mosquito, you could still contract it, and nets are only so good. What is that? There's a user error with that. These infants can't put their own nets up. So could you talk about your work that you did in Ghana for a second?
Yes, I went to Accra, Ghana, and Dr. Abraham in the Just Ab clinic took us in there, and we used silver like this. 1 bottle is 1 cure. And I know I'm not supposed to say the word cure in nutritional supplementation, but if you look over my shoulder on the wall, I've posted the actual article from the medical journal where it says 100% of the children were cured from malaria in an average of 5 days. So what I'm talking about here is 2 defensive mechanisms. Liquid silver, swallow it 2 teaspoons twice a day. This is your best bet so that you don't get malaria in the beginning. Double that amount if you do, and it will help. The other one is gel. Silver gel works on any mosquito bite, any opening in the skin, any problem that you have topically on your body. And this is so fantastic that women are using this more than anyone else for vaginal problems, meaning bacteria, virus, or that yeast infection vaginally that just won't go away. And by the way, this is water soluble. So it's like a KY jelly personal lubricant, but with silver, it destroys all the sexually transmitted diseases. So this is not only something for a benefit, it's also for somebody who wants to use it during intercourse to prevent sexually transmitted diseases. Wow,
that's really fascinating. I must have skipped that chapter in the book. I've been married for 12 years now, so thankfully it's not something on my radar. But actually it is here where we are in Africa because the AIDS epidemic is still so prevalent. And it is one of the leading causes of death still in this area. And honestly, not a day goes by that I don't hear about somebody locally within our sphere that is attending a funeral. Funerals are so prevalent here that it almost becomes like you almost become numb to it when, oh, so-and-so is out today for a funeral. So-and-so is out today for a funeral. And it's like, if I count the number of times somebody has told me they've been out or they know somebody here that they've been out for a funeral in the 4 months that I've been here, that's more than the number of funerals that I've probably known about in peripheral experiences in, maybe 10 years. It's astonishing. So it's really interesting about preventing sexually transmitted infections, diseases, the whole nine. I just had a thought with that. I'm gonna, I'm just really thinking how people can use it. So how can people in like the developing world access this? Because you did talk about it being a cure, and here in Malawi, they actually there is like a local cure that they actually call it the cure. When you get malaria, if you can get to a treatment center, they will give you the cure. How can people access that? In the developed world, in the United States, in Europe, they could just order it online and or go to a local store, like a whole health store, and get it, right?
That's
what about
correct. This one can be drop shipped from mydoctorsuggest.com to those foreign countries. People who are living in America and Canada, you also will get it from mydoctorsuggests.com.
And then is there, like, if people wanted to, just do-gooders out there who wanted to fund some sort of like long-term, you know, stockpiles for hospitals in developing nations, is there a way to kind of, or even like to give it to schools to use in their cafeterias, or just like, is there a way people can do that? Just purchase it and then share the information, share the interview, and then share the resource?
Absolutely. And we'll give people, anyone that wants to participate in that arena, we'd love, and we've had many people do that and very successful and great results. And we just give them a major discount of about 50% off. So we're getting it down to about what we pay for it so that we can just help. We're delighted to help people in that way.
Yeah, you and I are going to definitely be in touch about that here. And then for anybody out there who's going like, how can I help? What can I do? I don't work for a university. I'm not a physician, or I'm not in the healthcare industry. How can I help eradicate disease or prevent it? You can go to this website. You can purchase, you can purchase your own stock hold, and then you can just be a generous donor, you know, and share this interview, share Dr. Pedersen's resources, and be the change that you wish to see in the world. It's really that simple. Don't wait for permission. Take action, because that's how that's how change actually unfolds. But we're going to take one more quick break, and then when we get back, we'll explore how to safely use and find silver products with Dr. Gordon Pedersen. Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on Golden Otter Radio with me, Autumn Seibel. I have my incredible guest today, Dr. Gordon Pedersen, here, talking about how you can be the change that you wish to see in the world by using the miracle cure of silver. So we're going to talk quickly about how to safely use silver. So Dr. Pedersen, how can people know with confidence that they're using the most effective and safe silver product available?
Well, there's been many silvers in the past. Ionic silver was used for photographic solutions and is a poison. Then there's colloidal silver, and it falls out of solution and can cause the blue man problems. Now we have structured alkaline silver. You see, up until now, all the other silvers were strong acids, and they caused problems in the immune system, so people only took them once in a while. Yet you need this regularly. It needs to be alkaline. So look for pH balanced, or in other words, alkaline structured silver. Otherwise, you're getting an acid. If you're making it yourself, you're building an acid. So let's go ahead and start with the technology that uses magnetic resonance to deliver you a silver that's safer and more beneficial. So again, structured alkaline silver.
And you talked about how much silver to take for different things earlier in the show, but also in your book, The Silver Cure, which is a free download if you go to Dr. Pedersen's website, which is mydoctorsuggest.com. that right?
Correct. MyDoctorSuggest.com. You know, it's a fascinating world because I see NASA using silver in outer space because they don't have a doctor up there. And if you don't have access to a doctor, take a hint from NASA and go ahead and use the silver. They filter the air with silver filters. They filter their water with silver filters. In all of history, silver has been a fantastic tool. In fact, the plague, the people who survived the plague survived it by eating with silverware, silver cups, silver forks. In fact, that's where the cliche came that she was born with a silver spoon in her mouth because they had enough money to buy silver to survive the bacterial infection called the plague.
Holy cow, I didn't know that. Learn something new every day. Huh. So what's the best time to take silver then? Depending on what?
I like people to take it on a routine in the morning and at night. So 2 teaspoons in the morning, and then it's going to be gone in 12 hours. So 2 teaspoons at night.
Okay, and then who can take structured silver, and does it affect any other medications?
It doesn't affect any other medication, and any age can take it. In fact, the day you were born, within an hour of your birth, maybe even in the first 5 minutes, they put liquid silver drops in your eyes to prevent bacteria that would cause blindness. So you've probably already had silver in your most vulnerable organ at the most vulnerable time of your life. Even before they fed you, they put liquid silver in your eyes. So anybody at any age can have it.
Is that what the salve that they put as soon as the baby's born, they put like a salve over their eyes? That's what's in that?
That's correct. Otherwise, there's so much bacteria outside of the womb that a lot of babies would go blind from a bacterial infection.
Wow, I didn't realize that. And then what about long-term storage recommendations? So if people are going to like stock up to either give it away or redistribute, or just to have on hand for themselves, what are the long-term storage recommendations?
Well, I've tested it over 9 years' time, and it will still destroy MRSA 79%. So it doesn't deteriorate very much over time, but it makes sense to buy enough to use regularly for prevention, and rotate it every 2 years or so is probably smart.
Okay, so buy it, use it, keep a little bit on hand, buy more, use what you have on hand, and just, yeah, go through a good rotation on that. Okay, and we talked about some historical examples. In your book, you talk about how these silver in the outback, they would hang silver utensils in water distillers to like clean water. It's really fascinating. Like I love the intelligence of history. And gosh, wouldn't it be great? I mean, I'm a history teacher, so everything I look at is a 100-year view. I look 100 years back and 100 years to the future. And I'm like, okay, where is this going to go and where have we been? And it sounds like silver has stood the test of time. And shoot, if it's in space, then
that's a pretty good thing. Hey, you've obviously, if you've studied history, you've probably studied art history, France and all those other countries. Do you realize that the tradition of throwing a coin in the fountain came from 200 years ago or more, when they would have the city's water supply that would start in the center of the city, and the only way they had to purify it was to throw silver coins into it. So the tradition of throwing a coin into a fountain for good luck actually originated from silver coins being thrown in the city's water supply to purify it.
Wow. Oh my God. Like, okay, I've learned so much, and like fun little things too. If it's fun, I talk a lot about like feeling your way into things. So like we talked about earlier, like what are some of the side effects you've seen on pharmaceutical commercials lately? And it's like, whoa, none of that feels good. It doesn't sound good, let alone feels good. But silver feels good. And even though like gold is my thing and golden otter is my thing, I will stand behind silver. So
Well,
that's, go ahead. Do you have anything else to say?
Oh, I just have one more compliment to give to you. The listeners here are so lucky that you have somebody that has so much experience with healthcare profession that she has the ability to share a greater insight. And gold is a very good tool also out there. I'm glad you picked the word golden, because gold does have its place in the medical world right now. We're using colloidal gold to deliver chemotherapy because it can get into tiny particles like cartilage and circulation better. So you just keep looking. You're always discovering new things, and you've got a great perspective. It's been my total joy to be able to share with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Pedersen. Yeah, I'm going to keep my eyes and ears out. So anybody out there, someday I'm going to be an angel investor. And if you're doing gold research to, help humanity, I will be your angel investor. Fun little story. Somebody asked recently, where does Golden Otter, what is Golden Otter divinations? And so I talk a lot about like spirit animals and totem animals, but actually Golden Otter is a play on words. My mom was a chemistry major. She's a physician. And two of my brothers are August and Austin. We're all AU names. And so my mom used to call us her like golden ones, her golden kids. And I grew up in Alaska, and the sea otter is like of all of the Alaskan animals, the sea otter is my favorite. And Otter, A-U-T-T-R, used to be a nickname of mine growing up. So there you have it. A-U plus Otter, Golden Otter, and the divinations is because I'm all about energy and making things fun. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much, Dr. Pedersen, for being on the show. Make sure you follow him at mydoctorsuggest.com. And be sure to follow me at Golden Otter Divinations on Instagram, where you can check in and let me know about your golden moments so Spirit and I can cheer you on. If you'd like to contact me, buy my book, or join my private members-only co-creation forum, Lunar Manifestations, visit my website, goldenotter.us. I also just opened the doors to my year-long e-course for manifesting by the cycles of the new and full moon to draw your dream life into reality. Go enroll now at goldenotter.us. That's golden like the precious metal and otter like the precious animal.com or .us. Also, please take a minute to sign up for my bi-weekly emails. Get up-to-date information on all things Golden Otter, like my free monthly new moon intention planting and full moon manifestation harvesting ceremonies that are starting this summer. Go to the events page on my website, goldenotter.us. All right, thank you all so much for tuning in to Golden Otter Radio. I had an amazing time sharing this sacred co-creation space with you. Have a great week, and I'll feel your positive vibes back here next time.
Thank you for listening to Golden Otter Divinations, where the metaphysical meets the mainstream with Autumn Seibel. Tune in the first Friday of every month at 9 a.m. Pacific on transformationtalkradio.com. Exploring where the metaphysical meets the mainstream, Golden Otter Divinations helps you draw in the abundance that is yours by divine right. For more information or to listen to this show, visit goldenotter.us. That's golden like the precious metal and otter like the precious animal.us.